Joining me today is Kevin Garcia from the Winnipeg Goldeyes. And, you guys are just starting baseball season. It's going to be a fun, exciting summer for the Goldeyes. And love to get to know you a little bit and hear your journey about coming to Winnipeg and the Goldeyes in the first place and how faith plays a big role in that. So, yeah, can you maybe share a little bit about your baseball journey up to this point and how you came to Winnipeg?
Sure. Like just like most players started young, 5 years old. Um, in Mexico, baseball, in my community, baseball was, everything. My dad played baseball, my uncles played baseball. Never at the professional level, right? But it was good. It was good. Coming up, like you said, faith has been a big part of me since I was a young kid. I was raised Catholic and going to church and all that stuff, all that good stuff. And it took me to a journey of graduating high school, not being able to go Division 1, which is every kid's dream, to reach the highest level of collegiate baseball, right? And was lucky enough to have a couple offers, and I ended up deciding to go to Loyola Marymount University, which is a Jesuit school. So church was in campus. It was uh, it was very comfortable being over. I mean, I wasn't far away from school, from my home, but still having that relationship with faith and being a big part of the school was very refreshing. Ended up getting drafted by the Blue Jays in the 30th round in 2014. Was there for parts of 2 seasons. Then got lucky enough to get picked up by the Twins. Signed that contract in 16. Played there for 3 years and got released 2 weeks before spring training ended. And Rick Forney, back in the day, who was a manager for the Goldeyes, called me um and was there for 18. Got injured, torn patella tendon, uh, and then came back 2019, and played for the Goldeyes for a full year. Um, where I met my now wife in Winnipeg, playing for the Goldeyes. So have a lot of love for the Goldeyes community, for Winnipeg, for the city, for the fans. And then ended up going to Mexico for 4 years. Came back last year, and here we are.
And what was that like kind of coming back to Winnipeg? Like you said, so your second stint, so you're kind of familiar with it.
It was good. It was refreshing. Affiliate ball and Mexico ball is very competitive. It's a different tension. It's a different pressure that they don't tell you about. You dream about being a professional baseball player, and you think you're gonna get all this, big contracts, big opportunities, and whatnot. And it's simply not that way. Especially for someone that got drafted late in the draft. The leash is, very short compared to those guys that are prospects or get drafted in the top tiers. But yeah, it was very refreshing to me. Indie ball was where I well found my best friend, my wife, and it's very refreshing because it's a bunch of guys that just love playing baseball, love to win, love to compete, and are there for one another. There's no minor leagues in indie ball. It's either that's it, and playing in a place like Winnipeg, they make you feel like it's the big leagues. To be honest.
And so, yeah, like you said, you've kind of had like a journey that's taken you kind of different places. So, how have you been able to lean on your faith and really just kind of help get through those moments? Because I'm sure there's a lot of times where you were probably frustrated that things didn't work out how maybe you were thinking or hoping.
100%. I'm sure that I'm not the only one that's gone through, that place of that season of doubt of why me? I've worked so hard and I've done everything right, and it just seems like things are not going my way. Um, but I'm like I said, I'm lucky that my mother is very has pushed me to have a relationship with God and keep faith, and lately, as of now, I have been in a journey where I know I'm not perfect, and I'm okay with that. But knowing that I have someone that I can just surrender all my pressures, all my fears, all my doubts to, kind of frees me up. And yeah, it's this last 2 years for me have been massive in when it comes to faith. Like I said, going through injuries, a season-ending injury, possibly not being able to play the same way that I was, and then had another injury with my shoulder, which, to be honest, that was my number one tool. Uh, the reason why I believe I got drafted was because I had a really good arm. So it just felt like everything was falling out of place, and it's uh, I remember listening to a podcast, and it said sometimes we just have to do it our way for so long until we just say enough is enough. Something's got to go, right? Something's got to give. Something's got to change. And for me, it was faith. It was going back to that place of faith, place of peace. That it's a daily struggle. It's not, you discover it and it's all fun and dandy, but it's a good battle to have. And I believe that it has brought me back to that child in myself that really enjoys playing baseball, enjoys showing up to the field, and I'm lucky enough that I get to do that, and I get to go home to my wife and our puppy. So really feeling how everything was supposed to happen. It's happening, and I was meant to be a Goldeye. For how long, I don't know, but I for sure know that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
And yeah, that's amazing. Just hearing get to share that through the bumps that you've gone through, but kind of seeing God's bigger picture of like, hey, this is where you're supposed to be in this moment. And yeah, you're living the dream, like you said, probably when you were 5 years old, you were just like, I just want to play ball for the rest of my life, I'm sure, right? As many kids kids do. So, baseball is a little bit interesting because you play basically every day. Like you don't have many off days compared to some other sports. So how does like a schedule like that kind of not only affect just like your life but your faith and just kind of reminding yourself like every day like kind of there's something bigger than just the ball game.
Yeah, yeah, it was tough because as an athlete, I'm sure that most people try to prioritize their gym, their preparation, physically, mentally, and whatnot. But we tend to forget that, at least in my part, it was more, all right, you've worked so hard, you've put the gym before everything, you've missed birthdays, holidays, you've sacrificed all the stuff, and you're still in the same spot. You're not where you want to be at the end of the day, right? So for me, it was more making sure my priorities were uh, leveled and try to prioritize my time with the guy above, right? And making sure that I start my day with some sort of gratitude, some meditation, and I have this app in my phone. It's a Bible app, so I have reminders of all right before the game. I do my Bible study and then I read my passages and try to create some sort of peace so that I can feel free when I go up to the field. But yeah, it came down to priorities and what I thought in my own experience it was time to change, and it was definitely putting God first.
And how has being a part of the chapel with the Goldeyes kind of played a role into that? Because then there's, some other guys on the team that you kind of walking through this together. So it's like you understand the baseball side, but also the faith side.
It's tough because I like I said I haven't always been this way. Um, Being a professional athlete comes a lot of responsibilities off the field that not a lot of people understand, right? And they see a pro and they think, oh, everything's easy for them. They just show up and play. They don't really see the struggle that we have when it comes down to mental health, to injuries, to all this stuff. And Chapel was a space where you felt not only validated, but you felt it was a judge-free zone, right? So it don't matter if you're hitting 1,000 or if you're going over every day. Uh, Chapel and God are always going to be there for you. It's the one thing that's very consistent on a very inconsistent life that we live. Um, so to me, it was that finding some sort of peace, reminding me that this is what I do, this is not who I am, um, and trying to use the platform to express um, what what having faith has really done to me, and yeah, it's been very refreshing.
And let's say that there's a young athlete that's watching or listening to this right now. What advice would you give them if they were, let's say, 10 years old, they're playing ball and they're like, hey, I want to become a professional baseball player. What would you say to them to keep chasing their dream, but also keeping in mind of like faith and kind of that bigger picture?
Well, it's a very tough situation, especially, me going through it in the sense of I've always had that dream. I have an anecdote when I think I was 6 or something, and I was watching TV. I think it was it had to be ESPN back then, and they were showing the Little League World Series, right? And my mom was mopping and was cleaning the house, and I was just watching TV, and I was like, "Mom, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna play in that tournament one day." And moms go, they're gonna support. My mom is very supportive still to this day. She's very supportive, and she goes, "Yeah, I know." But at the same time, it was like in the back of her head, like, "Yeah, mijo, like you will keep fighting." But little did she know that 6 years later, I was in the Little League World Series, right? So having that vision, that dream, it's always good. One thing I would tell them is not to let them consume their life in the sense of, yeah, it's good to prepare, it's good to work out, and it's good to give it your all, but also understand that that's something that you want to do is not someone you want to become. I think that's the biggest misconception that we have nowadays. Or maybe it's something I'm seeing different now, um, because as much as you want to be that person, right, and be a big leaguer, it's a 1% chance or 0.5% chance, whatever it is. But having that journey can teach you a lot of work ethic, can teach you a lot of discipline, prioritize, your training instead of uh, stuff that you shouldn't be doing. And I think that having that view and that dream really pushes you to be the best version of yourself. And now you combine that with a little bit of faith, then I think sky's the limit.
And for sure. And probably just enjoy playing as well, right? Like just putting in that work, but also just enjoying the game of baseball.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a game, right? Just the difference is that pros get paid to do it, but it's the same thing. It's a game. It's learning to not take it so serious, but at the same time take it serious on the time being, and understand that once you're in those lines, yeah, you might be transformed and you might be a different animal, but once you're out of it, learning how to let go and just having that quick mindset of on to the next, right? And I think that competitors are gonna have a little bit of a tough time with that because they have high standards, but understanding that only if you dwell on the past, there's never going to be space for the future, kind of thing.
All right. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for taking time to join me today and chat about your faith journey, your baseball journey, and we're excited to see how the Goldeyes do this season.
Sounds good. We'll see you in the championship.